What's up everyone, it's Blaze here. Let's take a look at the final section of our planned RPG tutorial series. So after we're done here and maybe one or two videos of cleaning up the project, we'll basically be done. We'll be moving into the unplanned stuff. So those are topics like persistent data, going from the overworld into the battle scene and then back again. We'll be looking at XP, damage numbers as well. So a lot of unplanned stuff, which means that they will take a lot longer to flesh out and get the stuff ready for those, or rather for me to test them out before I make videos for those. And so I don't think I'll have theory videos for those upcoming videos either. All I can say is that for now, this will be the last theory video that we will see. So if you've made it this far in the project, congratulations. You're on the home stretch. So just like it says here on the on this slide here, we're going to be working on skill attacks. So basically our workflow will be from the base menu. You've got our skills down here. We've got our skill button, which the version that we're working on right now looks a little bit different, but we have our skills here. If you look also over at our characters, we're also going to implement the skill bar, which operates more or less the same as the HP bar. Okay, so we'll be implementing all of that in this section here. So when you click on this skill button, it's going to take you to the skill menu. The skill menu basically for our demo will show us two skills. We're going to have a single target skill, which is this slash attack down here, and we have the multi-target skill, which will be the M slash or multi slash. So it attacks the other characters in our scene. All right, eventually we're going to have teams. That's something that we haven't put into our game yet. We will have teams, and this is just a way for we're going to leave that to last because I kind of want to get the gameplay stuff in. So it's going to be one of those cleanup things that we will put into our game. And that includes the AI, very simple AI as well. All right, so after we've selected a skill, basically it's going to work like the attacking menu, in which you can then select which character you want to attack, assuming it is for a single unit. So our skills, because we have two kinds, let's call it area of effect and single target, because we have two kinds, we'll be able to implement different types of skills through there. Now there are some things that I left out of this slideshow because they're a little bit difficult to put into simple code. They're quite extensive, but I will go over them very quickly. So let's take a look at the skill button. Just like it says here, it's the exact same as the attack UI button, with the only difference being that it takes us to the skill menu instead of going straight to the targeting menu. Okay, so that's the skill button. Oh, sorry, I had my things mixed up. So the skill button, once we select it, it works just like the attacking button. No difference whatsoever. It's more or less the same logic with a few other things attached. Let's take a look at the actual skill button now. So when we select the skill button, the first thing that we're going to do is we're going to check the cost of the skill, right? And then we're also going to get the current skill points, the current remaining skill points of our selected character. And if we have more than the cost, then we can start targeting. If not, then we're going to show some sort of error message saying, hey, you don't have enough SP, or you don't have enough skill points for it, and so you can't use it. You can't use that particular skill. All right, so let's take a look at the new function that we have here. And this function is basically kind of like the attack skill. And so the only difference, so here it says attack system is basically the same. The difference between here and, didn't work. the difference between, should be that. Okay, I'm not gonna touch it. The difference here between, there we go, that's proper. The difference between unit skill and unit attack is that we need to check to see if this variable, and I'll get to that in a second, this variable which belongs to the manager is not true, right? If it's false, then we're going to flip that, and then the rest of it is the same as the attack system. Now, for the actual attacking functions, because we have two, we need two different types of skill functions. The first one is single target attack, right? And so for this one, we need to pass our target to actually use that attack and any effects that happen from there. The other one is the multi-target attack, which ignores the target, the targeting system completely, and just attacks the entire enemy team, or more specifically, it attacks whoever isn't the current selected unit, right? Well, or yeah, the other team or the currently selected unit. It'll do one of those two things. However you want to do it, that's up to you. So let's take a look at the next thing. Now, the manager here, we're going to be doing a fair few things for the manager. In the create event, we need to put in these new variables here, these two, the skill buttons, which is a list, which means we also need to add stuff to the cleanup event. We have the global skill targeting as well, because while targeting is already being used, we need something very specific because our skill system relies on this particular variable. We could use just regular targeting, but for the sake of making things a little neater, a little clearer to understand, I've gone ahead and created an extra variable there. It costs, I mean, nowadays it costs next to nothing to have an extra variable, so why not use that extra computing power? All right, we also need the skill sent variable, which we are going to set to false. And of course, we need to store the UI into a variable, just like our targeting UI and our base UI. The last thing that we need, and this one here, is we need to create an object that holds all of the skills that we're going to have in our game. Now, if you think about it, you might have a game where there are hundreds of skills. So for example, I think in Pokemon there are, I'm gonna say like 800 maybe. That's across all generations of Pokemon games. There are a lot of skills for that. So what I would do here is I would, if you've got a certain number of skills, if you have maybe 5 or 10 different skills, that's fine. You don't need to, you can load up all of your skills into your combat scene, no problems. But if you have a large number of skills, right, if you have 200, 400, whatever, if you have all of those different skills, it might be more effective to copy the information that you need from a table into a much smaller pool. But that's something for you guys to test out, and that's not something we're covering in this beginner / intermediate level tutorial. Okay, so this object, one more time, this object here is going to store all of our skill information. All right, let's move on. Now in the step event, in the setup phase, we need to obviously deactivate the skills layer just like everything else. And we need to create a new user event. So user event number 3 does the same thing as user event 1 and 2. It activates and deactivates the skill menu. All right. So that's it for, I think that's it. No, we still need more. So manager, just the same as skill as the defend broadcast message, minus a couple of things. There are a few differences between them, but more or less it's the same as the defend skill. Now, before I continue, if you guys hear anything in the background, like voices in the background, they are currently campaigning for the elections here in Japan, so well, you're gonna hear campaign trucks going around. So my apologies for that, but there's nothing I can do to block out the sound. Let's keep going. So after the manager, I believe we're moving into the unit. Yes, we are. So for our unit, we're going to need a new macro. We're going to call it skill, or something to indicate skill. In my original one, I called it magic and whatever. Just give it a name. Now, the next thing that we're going to need is we're going to need a base SP. It shouldn't be max SP, it should be base SP. Let me just change that. Base SP. And you can set it to whatever value you want. It doesn't really, doesn't matter for testing purposes. So you can set whatever your base value is to whatever you want. I'm going to set mine to 5. And then of course we need the current SP is going to be base SP. Now the next thing is, this is going to be a new function that we're going to add. So whenever we use a skill, we need to take our current SP and we need to reduce it by the cost of that skill. All right, so, and then obviously that is required for our skill button. So when we cast a skill, whether it hits or misses, it's going to cost skill points to use that. All right, moving on to the next one is the selected skill. And the selected skill is the variable where we will store that skill information. All right, they're going to use that particular skill instead of attacking or instead of defending. And then the last one is the learned skill. So it's completely up to you how many learned skills you are going to have in your game per character. So for example, for our demo, I'm going to have 2, just 2. But you might want to have, I guess, what's a game that I can think of? So if, like, for example, Pokemon, right? You can have, they only have 4 attacks. They can only have 4 skills at any point in time. So you would have, let's say, learn skill 0, 1, 2, 3, and then you'll have 4 skills available. But like I said, for us, for our demo, it's just going to be just 2, up to 2. All right, and when we create the unit itself, it's going to have no learned skills because this is the parent. The actual objects that we spawn in will have the information that we need. So just keep that in mind. All right, let's go to the new object that we're going to create for this section, which is the skills object. And we need 4 enums. The first thing we're going to need are 4 different enums. The first one is the skill details. This encompasses everything that the skill is made up of. So we have the name, the element, the type, targets, the health change. So is it like a healing skill, so plus health, or is it going to do damage, or is there no health change? Maybe it causes status effects and things like that, which again, that's not something I'm covering in this main tutorial series. Maybe as a post video I will do that, but not for now. And then of course we need the cost and the action. Now the action is the scripts that I mentioned before. So if we scroll up just a little bit, if I can find it, here it is. So the action will either be single target attack or multi-target attack, or maybe you want to put something else in, a different kind of skill usage. That's completely up to you. All right, so that's the action there. The next one here, the next enum is the skill type, which actually feeds into the skill details for this one here. All right, so it's either going to be physical or magic. You can put in whatever skill type you want, but for like the most basic type of skills would be, yeah, physical skill, like using a weapon skill, or using magic. Right, those are the 2 basic skill types. Now, like I said, we won't be dealing with anything like magic, but I mean, if we were to implement magic skills, I would have to do another section on things like how to set up resistances and vulnerabilities. It's too much for me, to be honest. But hey, if enough people ask, then definitely I'll do it. All right, let's take a look at the next one, which is the skill element. So the element, of course, again, like I said, we are not going to work with skill elements. but there are going to be some skills that don't have an element, right? So for example, like I said before, a weapon skill. It doesn't have it's not fire or water or electricity, or maybe in your game it does, but like at its most basic, does it have an element attached to it or not? And that's something for you guys to fill in yourself. And the last one is, of course, the different names of the skills that you're going to have. Now, we could have gone ahead and created a table, and looking back on it, I should have made a table. I could use a DS, I'm gonna say DS map for our skill instead, but I don't know why I didn't come up with that, to be perfectly honest. I don't know why I'm taking this. I guess for simplicity's sake, we're just going to take this route. All right, the last slide and the end of this video is we are going to have a constructor. So if you guys haven't seen my video on constructors here in GMS, have a look at the card that should pop up very soon. But basically, we're going to have a skill function. A skill is going to be created whenever we need it. And we're going to use a constructor to make that information available. And of course, we're going to go through each and every single one of these details, right? The name, the element, everything. And the way that we do that, for example, is let's say we wanted to create the skill slash. So I would write in global.skill because we want it to be accessible we want it to be accessible by either the enemies or the players. All right. Any unit that has skills should be able to access these skills. Therefore, we're using global. All right, and then we type in new, which is one of the new keywords for GMS, and then skill, which is this, and then we're going to fill in that information. So this is the last tutorial, the last theory video for this series. And the next 2 videos, we're going to do the skills. It might take 3 or 4 videos because there is quite a bit that we have to go through. But hopefully I can make it, I can cut it up and make it digestible for as many people as possible. So thank you very much for joining me and making it this far in the series. Of course, like I said, and I've said it a few times already today, we will go into unplanned tutorial territory, but something I want you guys to keep in mind is I can't guarantee how quickly I'll be able to get them out, because I do already have another planned series which is for the people here, and there are some people on Twitter that have asked me to do like a GMS to Unity and Unity to GMS conversion mini-series. So maybe I'll do that. I'm not sure how that's going to work, but I'm thinking about doing that after this one. But in any case, thank you very much for watching, and I hope to see you in the next one. Bye bye.